Archie Luxury, talking watches, and today I want to talk about why I love the Rolex Explorer 2. And I got a lot of slack. A lot of people give me shit. So just before I start the video, like, subscribe, and tell your fuckhead friends. And remember, men cannot live on Google Ads alone. Please look in the description for 10 ways you can help me stay full-time on YouTube. Now, fuckers, the Rolex Explorer 2. Now, I get a lot of flack. And I gotta tell you, it's quite funny. The Rolex Explorer 2 now is sort of the dog of the Rolex sports range. And this is kind of funny because, 20 years ago, when the internet was starting to filter through to consumer society, I was on some of the forums there. There was Turfers, the ultimate Rolex forum, and then it became New Turfers. And I remember, I gotta be honest with you, I actually preferred the Explorer 2 to the classic date sub. And you might say I'm fucking out of my mind, but let me explain, fuckers. I mean, see, you gotta remember there's a lot of history with this. My first Rolex, which is really a spin of the roulette wheel, was a Rolex Explorer 1. I didn't study the catalog. I actually thought the guy would get me an Air King. And in some ways, I suppose I might have even been a little disappointed. It was the Rolex Explorer 1. And it was a 1016. This was 1990. And it was the last of the plastic. And I thought, oh, geez, I would have liked the sapphire. Last of the plastic, 1016, L serial number. I thought, oh, that's okay. No point complaining. Got a Rolex. That's all cool. That was the Explorer 1, and it turned, in the course, it became very popular. It was a really hot sports watch. This was before the size issue, because it's a 36 mils, the same size case as a Datejust. And I had mine, and I sold it for a big profit. I bought it for 1,575 Aussie dollars, and I sold it for $7.5. I sold it to The Hammer. There was a guy on WatchNet. I sold it to The Hammer, and I sold it for $7.5 Aussie. So I wish I could buy one for that price now, but anyhow, that's okay. And then I went into the President's, but I then very quickly, because I started getting really interested in watches, I got a Explorer 2 came my way. I remember I bought it from a guy who had a restaurant at the Gold Coast. And Sven. And he sold it. I think his business wasn't doing too well. He had a restaurant near Cavill Avenue. And he had a few watches, and I think he was sort of a restaurateur, and, he sold it. I remember I bought it. It was a real hard nut to deal with. It was an early mid-90s, early 90s one. And you've got to remember the year when I bought this was 1998. So it wasn't that old, really. Box papers, and it was 4,000 Aussie. And it was in nice condition. Yep, really nice condition. Holes case, that was correct, and it didn't have the flip lock bracelet. It had the stand, which was correct as well. You could get it like that. And I really loved that watch. The watch was so cool. I really loved it. The white with what I really loved was that steel fixed bezel. And if ever you've tried to read 24-hour time, I think a rotating bezel complicates things. I think it's better to have a fixed bezel. And it was just a cool watch. It was a cool watch. And then early 2000s, I got rid of all my watches. Late 1999, I started getting rid of them. I sold off my two-tone Datejust, that was a 16013, that was the first to go. Then I sold off my President, the 18238 diamond dial. I remember I sold that for I made $1,000, $13,500 I sold that off for. Then I sold off, I had a date sub. I could have sold either one, and I preferred to have sold the sub, and I kept the Explorer 2. And then I sold the Explorer 2, which I really regretted. So I mean, I got to tell you the truth. After I sold the Explorer 2, I was fucking depressed, very fucking depressed. You know, I had a fucking boy-sized Tudor I was wearing. It's completely washed out on watches, and yeah, you know, that kind of hurt. That hurt. Yeah, it did hurt. But that's such is life. And I got to tell you, I always had a soft spot from that moment onwards for the Explorer 2. And it's funny. In the late 90s, the Explorer 2 was a really, really hot watch. I mean, everyone fucking wanted an Explorer 2. The debate was white or black, and the cream ones were, you know, they were always very, very rare. The cream one was the intermittent model. When they changed from the 16550 16550, you could get with a white dial, cream dial, or black dial. And the cream was just done for that short period. And I got to tell you, there's just something about the Explorer 2. I always wanted one. So I had to sell it early 2000s. I think it might have been late 1999 I sold it. And I always, you know, in the back of my mind, if things came good again, I was going to get a Explorer 2 again. And down the track then, I kind of have owned a few. I was sort of into watches again. My luck kind of changed again. It's always, you know, up and down, you know how things go. And the last one I got was when I sold the Mercedes. I had the Mercedes Pagoda, which I was custodian. It wasn't actually, I could have bought it, but I was looking after it. The commission for selling it was an Explorer 2. And that watch then I sold to one of Greg Kinder's friends. And I was silly. I sold it to, actually I sold it to Greg for a while, then I bought it back, and then I sold it to his friend. And I gotta tell you, it's a very interesting watch. I think it's a great watch. I mean, look, it might be a bit soft. They were very popular in the noughties, the 2000s. Where they kind of died down a bit was when they released the ceramic GMT. It made the pre-ceramics sort of so collectible. And I remember, this is how fucking horrible it was. I remember a Japanese magazine used to tell you what bits you needed to add to convert a 1675 GMT into an Explorer 2 plastic, orange hand Explorer 2. Because it was always, the Explorer 2 orange hand, that's the 1655, was so much more valuable than a 1675 GMT. And it's kind of funny, you look back on it, I think the Explorer 2, it softened. It really softened after the ceramic came out, because then the pre-ceramic, that market kind of went crazy, and then people really wanted the Coke and the Pepsi. And believe it or not, you might not, I mean, I've owned hundreds of watches. I've never actually owned a GMT. I've had multiple Explorer 2s, but I've worn a GMT. I had a GMT Master 2 when I was working for a watch dealer in Thailand. He gave me one to wear for a month or two. That was a red and black. It's a Coke. I remember that. That was actually, it was quite a, after I wore it, I thought, gee, these are pretty good. But the Explorer 2's always been my go-to sports watch. When things have picked up, I've always liked them. And I've owned both. I've owned a black one and the white one. I'm kind of more partial to the white. I kind of thought, you know, the black, there's so many sports watches have the black dial. To be able to have a white dial sports watch is so cool. I mean, what's happened there is that the Panerai crowd, they kind of think white dial is terminal. Oh, it's terminal. So that's kind of what killed that. But in all honesty, there, I think the white dial is a cool watch, and I love, you know, the Rolex Sports white dials, the Daytona, the Explorer 2, the Milgaus. I think they're really cool, the white dial ones. I don't know why people hate the white dial, but I've got nothing against them at all. I think they look more dressy. You know, the black dial one is more of a sports watch, whereas the white dial, it kind of brings it into like almost a dress sports, smart casual sort of watch. And I've really loved, I've always thought it was just a great watch, such a great watch. And I got to tell you, they were par and par with, they were just under a sub. They were just a bee's dick under a Submariner date, steel date. So I mean, it's kind of funny. Some people kind of look at these things here and they think, you know, they're kind of doggy and they're not the wanted sports watch. But I really do love them. I think they're a cool watch. They're you know, they're just so versatile. It's if you are a traveler, and you know what I do on my Explorer 2 is when I'm in my hometown of Brisbane, I've got the 12-hour hand, of course, that's set to local time, and then the 24-hour hand is set to local time as well. So when you fly somewhere, you just change the 12-hour hand to represent the new destination. You keep the 24-hour hand at your hometown time. And I really love it. I really think it's such a cool watch. It's so easy to change because when you adjust that little hour, the 12-hour hand, it doesn't stop. I think the seconds keep going on it, and you know, it just, you don't fuck up the 24-hour. It just keeps it going pretty cool there. I've always loved it. I always thought it was such a cool watch. And I remember in the early 2000s, I remember thinking, you know, if I had money again, fuck, I would love an Explorer 2. And I remember thinking, you know, I was too young and stupid when I bought my first Rolex. I just said, get me whatever you can. And I'm very fortunate I got an Explorer 1. But I thought, years later, I thought, you know, if I had an educated choice, I would have picked an Explorer 2 Polar. It always just seemed to be a watch that really popped. And it's unique. It doesn't scream Rolex like the sub-scream Rolex. And I just thought they were so cool. Very, very cool indeed. So, in many ways there, I love the Explorer 2s. They're just such a versatile watch. I love it on a grey NATO. I think the grey NATO probably is the best colour there. I love them on a NATO. But the steel bracelet is cool as well. I mean, it's a proper, you can take it in the pool. It's a good dive watch. It's GMT. It's a really useful piece. Very useful piece of kit. And I can't I don't understand why they've gone soft now, but I think they'll bounce back. I can't see them staying in the shitter forever there. I think maybe the new Explorer 2 is a little bit big at 42 mil, but I even like the new one. I think it's a really attractive watch. It's really quite beautiful, and a Rolex is a quality piece. They are a quality timepiece. So I really love my Explorer 2. It may not be the coolest. I mean, now there's the subs and, you know, it may not be the coolest, but I don't give a fuck. Fuck fashion. The Explorer 2 is just a cool watch, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a sleeper at the moment. I think they got great potential. It's every bit as good as a GMT. And, I mean, have you ever tried fucking reading a GMT 24-hour hand watch with the bezel rotating? You're asking for trouble. I don't see that as a, you know, I think the fixed bezel is a much better way to do it. So there you go. That's my love affair with the Rolex Explorer 2. I'm Archie Luxury. Tell me what you fuckers think of that.
We specialize here in pre-owned Rolex watches. Rolex watch is a very special timepiece, and we always do the servicing exactly as factory specifications. We buy a pre-owned piece and we put it into brand new condition. We have Rolex certified technicians working on that. We completely disassemble the piece. We adjust and polish and change every single part of the watch.
You have to have certified watchmakers that know what they're doing. If you have an expensive car, you're just not going to bring it to any mechanic that doesn't know what they're doing.
You spend $5,000, it's like if you put money in the safe deposit box. And 1 or 2 years from now, you will keep having your $5,000. We have to spend a lot of money to get all this equipment together, but makes me feel I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It's not a question of money, it's my passion.
Jewelers on time, simply the best.